What's going on, Red Sox fans? How you doing? A great series against the Mariners this weekend. The Red Sox keep up their winning ways. Welcome, everyone, to episode 3 of the BLEAV in Red Sox podcast on the BLEAV Podcast Network. How's everyone doing? Hello. We are live here on YouTube. And wherever else you're listening to this, if you're listening to this through one of your favorite podcast platforms like Spotify, Stitcher, Google, Apple, hello. Hope you're all doing well. But we are live here. Wow, we have a new member coming in. What is going on? Hello. Hans has been a member for 4 months. Thank you very much, Hans. I really appreciate that. Again, we are live here on YouTube, so I will be having notifications coming in throughout the show. But everyone, I hope you're all doing well. Hope you all had a great weekend. Red Sox fans, we had a very good series. It was a tough fought series, just like I said it would. Coming into this series, I knew it was not going to be easy. The Mariners have been playing well, and as you could see, it was tough to win 2 out of those 3 games. We're going to dive into that series. We're going to preview the upcoming series with the Oakland A's. But before I do get into everything, I just want to go over today's sponsor for this episode. BetOnline is our sponsor for today's episode. Our partners at BetOnline continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all of the latest odds, news, and sports developments for the NBA playoffs, Major League Baseball, fights, and the NFL. BetOnline is your continued source for all sports wagering needs, including live betting and the fan favorite Vegas casino and poker games. It's really easy to get started. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up and use our promo code BLEAV, BLEAV, to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. BetOnline, where the games start. We have a super chat coming in. Hans, I will answer that in just a second. Hold on just 1 second, Hans. Thank you so much for the $1.99 super chat. Our next sponsor is SeatGeek. Use code HYDE and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. So if you're looking to go to a game this year, if you're looking to go check out the Sox, use my code HYDE. You get $20 off your first purchase with SeatGeek. Also, we have a partnership with Prize Picks. Use the code GINGER for a 100% deposit match. Alrighty, so let's get to it here. And really quick, before I do get to it, Hans, you're saying here, check Twitter. I got amazing news. I'll have to check that in just a little bit, my friend. Thank you, Hans, for the $1.99 super chat. Really do appreciate that. And let's just get to it, everyone. Like I said, a great series with the Mariners this weekend. And like I said, very hard-fought series. Let's get to the screen here. Alrighty, so again, if you are with me here on YouTube, I am live, and you will be able to see everything that I'm showing here on the computer. So if you're with me on YouTube, you'll be able to see the box scores as well as any other page that I pull up here on the screen. But let's take a look here. Let's go to the first game of the series, 1-0, and then JD Martinez with his 6th home run of the year made it 2-0. That was the last home run for JD Martinez came 19 games ago in that 13-4 loss against the Astros back in May. So it was a while before JD Martinez really got into one. Martinez was hitting really well, but the power wasn't quite there for him. So it was really nice to see JD Martinez get into one for a home run. After the JD Martinez home run, that made it 2-0. But then Jesse Winker came up in the bottom of the 5th. That made it 2-2. 2-run home run for Jesse Winker. Not a great start for Jesse Winker so far this year, but he's starting to show some signs here for the Mariners. So Winker was absolutely amazing for the Reds last year, but he has not really been able to produce to the same level like he was last year. But that home run made it 2-2. And then Bobby Dahlbeck, man, he has been hitting extremely well lately for the Red Sox. I'll get into some numbers in just a little bit, but Bobby Dahlbeck came up big, go-ahead home run in the 7th. That made it 3-2. And then after a hit by pitch to Refsnyder, I'm going to talk about Rob Refsnyder here in just a little bit. Holy cow, Rob Refsnyder. Hit by pitch to Refsnyder, and then a base hit from Rafael Devers moved him over to third. JD Martinez grounded into a double play. That made it 4-2. The Mariners did make it interesting with a few base hits off of Matt Strahm in the 8th inning. That made it 4-3, but he was able to get out of it with the lead intact. Now, let's move into the end of this game. Coming in for the save here in Game 1 was Tanner Houck, and this is the guy that I think needs to be the closer moving forward. He locked it down for his first career save in this one. And Tanner Houck, man, he is, I think this is the guy that needs to be closing out these games. And let's talk about Tanner Houck for a little bit. So, last episode, if you were here for episode 2, we actually had a great comment from someone that was listening, and he was saying, hey, why not Chris Sale maybe be the closer, could have Tanner Houck be the setup guy. And that was actually some news that was from The Athletic that the Red Sox might be looking at Chris Sale working out of the bullpen initially. That way he can work up his innings. You know, the idea of Chris Sale as the closer, it sounds fun, but in the end, the Red Sox, they're going to want this guy in the starting rotation. They're not paying him all that money to pitch one inning at the end of games. While I think Chris Sale would be an amazing closer, I just don't think that's what the Red Sox are going to do with him. So to me, if Tanner Houck is going to be, in the bullpen for this year, I think you got to have Tanner Houck, man, coming in at the end of games. The slider is just nasty with him. Good fastball. To me, kind of have a similar role to Garrett Whitlock last year. I think you could have Tanner Houck come in maybe for multiple innings at times, but I think Tanner Houck, the majority of his appearances should be at the end of games. The Red Sox have not had a closer all year. They've been doing the bullpen by committee for what feels like forever now. And as long as I've been a Red Sox fan, I have never really seen a bullpen by committee work all that well. The Tampa Bay Rays, they can find ways to get it done. But for the Red Sox, it's just never quite worked. And I'm not really a big fan of it, to be completely honest. I like the one guy at the end of the game, and I think Tanner Houck, man, give him that role. I think he'll absolutely just run with that role. And Alex Cora seems to be a fan of it as well. He did say he wants to see where it goes. He would prefer to use Houck 2 or 3 times a week for one inning instead of long relief. Cora said, we kept pushing for this. I just feel like where we're at pitching staff wise, losing him for 3 or 4 days after a long relief outing puts us in a bad spot. And I agree. I think Tanner Houck, he can come in, he can throw multiple innings, but again, like Cora said, you're not going to have him for a couple of days. To me, one inning, coming in to close out some games. And yeah, he did need a day in between. He came in for the save today. We'll talk about that in just a little bit, but I think with Houck, just work him up to those times where, yeah, maybe he will have to go back-to-back days. It would have been great to have him on Saturday night. We'll talk about that game in just a second, but I think work Tanner Houck up to that point. I think he could really be one of the better closers in the game. I think he just has the right mentality for that role as well. And I would love Tanner Houck to be the closer of this team. Absolutely. So let's get to game 2 here. We had Michael Wacha get the start in this one against George Kirby. Wacha, he was amazing in his last start against the Angels, but in this one, kind of the same thing as Rich Hill. Didn't quite have that same effectiveness in this game. He was able to get through it as much as he could. He got into the 5th inning. He was able to minimize the damage as much as he could. But again, just wasn't as crisp as we've seen him. He gave up 8 hits in this game. But he got out of this one overall with a no decision. So he did enough to be able to keep the Red Sox in this. But let's get started here with the scoring. Trevor Story, he did get it started in the first. He reached on an error, and then Rafael Devers, he got the scoring started with an absolute bomb, his 13th of the season at that point. The Mariners answered back with a couple of 2-run innings thanks to an Adam Frazier base hit that scored 2, and an absolute bomb from Julio Rodriguez. It was just clobbered. The bat flip, he just flipped the bat. He knew it was gone as soon as he hit it. Julio Rodriguez, man, that was one guy coming into this series I told everyone to look out for, and he just is continuing to show why he is one of the top prospects in the game. But his home run made it 4-3. JD Martinez, another home run, answered with a 2-run homer. That was his 7th of the year. That made it 5-4. So back-to-back games with a home run for JD Martinez. That's actually the second time that he's done it this season. So again, it's really nice to see JD Martinez getting that power stroke coming back. He's right now on pace for around 18 to 19 home runs. That would be his lowest total since 2016. If he were to finish under 22, that would be his lowest total since 2016. So keep that in mind. I'm looking for JD Martinez to start just hitting some missiles out there. But moving forward with this game, the Mariners answered back in the 7th thanks to an Abraham Toro double off of Matt Strahm. That tied the game at 5. And this was a great game. It was a very good game. I think one of the better games in all of Major League Baseball this year. This Mariners team on this night, they look like the Mariners team last year, where they were just extremely clutch. They were a team that would just never die. So Abraham Toro tied the game in the 7th off of Matt Strahm. And I'm going to talk about Strahm here in just a little bit. I'm actually going to talk about Alex Cora in a little bit and how he managed this bullpen. But let's get to this first. Into the 9th inning. It was a tie game. Bobby Dahlback, like I said, he's been very good lately, came through again for the Red Sox. Go-ahead homer. That made it 6-5. And it was looking like, hey, Bobby Dahlback was going to be the hero of this game. Unfortunately, those heroics would go to waste. Hansel Robles. Oh, my goodness. Hansel Robles. I saw Hansel Robles live in Tampa when Kevin Kiermaier hit the walk-off home run. I'm going to say this right now before I get into all of this. Hansel Robles, you need to keep this guy away from the 9th inning. Keep him away from the 9th inning. It needs to stop. We got to stop it with Hansel Robles. His numbers are awful. I'm going to talk about those numbers in just a little bit. But in Tampa, I remember he looked pretty good to start things off, and then he balked in that game, and he just completely got frazzled, and he didn't have it. I don't think Hansel Robles has the mentality for the 9th inning. Yes, we can look at analytics and you can look at numbers all you want, but what you can't look at on the stat sheet is the mentality for the 9th inning. It's a different feel. There's different things running through your head at the end of the game, man. You need that adrenaline at the end of the game, and Hansel Robles, he is just not that guy. And no disrespect to Hansel Robles, I think he is very good in the bullpen. I just think he needs to stay away from the end of games. I don't know what it is. Papelbon, to me, is the perfect example of a guy. When he would come in for the Red Sox, that was a guy, he was just locked in for the 9th inning. I think you obviously need to have those statistics behind you, but I think you need to be in the right headspace. I don't think Hansel Robles is that guy for the 9th inning, but let's talk about it. It actually started off well. He got Julio Rodriguez to ground out, and then he walked J.P. Crawford. Then Eugenio Suarez got the base hit, so he was running into some trouble. That's kind of same thing. That's what happened in Tampa Bay. When I watched that game live, he got off to a pretty good start to close it out. Then a couple of things happened, and he just lost it. And so at this point, I would have gone with another guy. I probably would have gone with John Schreiber. This is a guy, he did pitch the night prior, but in my opinion, I mean, he's pitched in back-to-back games before. That would have been the guy. I think that arm angle in the 9th inning, I think he is hard to pick up. That would have been the guy I would have gone to instead of Hansel Robles, but I digress. But let me talk about those numbers for Robles in the 9th inning. Overall this year, 9th inning for Hansel Robles, a 7.71 ERA, a 7.85 FIP. He needs to stay away from the ninth inning. But Abraham Toro, he came through again with a base hit to tie it, and then Dylan Moore had the walk-off hit. Again, I would have gone with Schreiber. That would have been the guy I would turn to. He's been great out of that bullpen for the Red Sox ever since coming up. And I don't know. That's just the guy I would have gone with personally. I think Robles has very good numbers in the 6th, the 7th, and the 8th innings. I think he just needs to stay there. I think he needs to be one of the setup guys, middle relief. I think he's good in that spot. I will also say, I think it really hurt the Red Sox that Alex Cora burned through all of their lefties. I think Tanner Houck is the guy for the closer role moving forward. I think that's the guy that needs to be the closer of this team. But if you're not going to have Tanner Houck for one night, I think you need to keep a lefty for the 9th inning. I understand you got to kind of get to that point. That's what they did in this game. You got to get to the end of the game. But I think if you can, you need to keep a lefty there, because if you're not going to have Houck at the end of the game, or just in general, if you're not going to have your closer, I'm a fan of being able to have a lefty there in case you need to bring him in for a matchup. Just in case things start going south. I know you have the 3-batter minimum, but I think it would have been great to have a lefty there in that spot to Dylan Moore. I don't know. That's just me personally. But he burned through Diekman. He burned through Strom. Austin Davis, I think, would have been a good guy for the end there. But what can you do? So in the end, the Mariners ended up winning this game with a walk-off hit. But this Mariners team, that's exactly how they were last year. They fought to the end. They were always a tough team to keep down, and they just always found a way to win in the end. They were the best clutch team last year statistically. But let's move on to Game 3 today. We actually had a bit of news coming into this game. Nathan Eovaldi going on the IL with some back inflammation. In his last start, he was actually dealing with some hip problems. So no surprise, when you got stuff going on with your hips, your back is going to start taking the brunt of it. So I think Nathan Eovaldi, man, let's just get rested up. It's going to be, you're going to miss him in this turn in the rotation. The Red Sox, they're trying to find guys to, already to fill in some starts. So losing Nathan Eovaldi along with Garrett Whitlock earlier this week, they're going to have to really find a way to get through these games here in the next week to week and a half. But let's talk about the guy that got called up for him today, or to take his spot for him today, and that's Cutter Crawford. That's another one that I have seen live. I saw Cutter Crawford's debut with the Red Sox last year against the Indians. Yes, the Indians. They were the Indians last year, not the Guardians. They were still the Indians, but they roughed him up. And I saw that debut, and I'm like, man, Cutter Crawford, I don't know. I don't know about this guy, but he looked really good in this one. Cutter Crawford, man, went up against the ultimate grunter of Major League Baseball, Robbie Ray. Robbie Ray drives me absolutely nuts, but I got to give credit to Robbie Ray. Has not had a great year this year, but he looked really good in this one as well. We actually had a pitching duel pretty much all the way through, but Cutter Crawford, a very good start today. 5 innings, 1 hit, 7 Ks. I mean, what else could you ask for from a spot starter? Honestly, I would have maybe even put him back out for the 6th. He was only at around, I think he was at 83 pitches. That guy, to me, I think he should have gone out for the 6th inning. Anyway, it didn't really matter in the end, but I think he was doing so good. He only gave up 1 hit, but I get it. You probably didn't want to keep throwing him out there for these hitters. They're starting to maybe see him a little bit better. So I understand making that move for the bullpen, but either way, a great start for Cutter Crawford today. I would imagine, if you're going to have Nathan Eovaldi out and you got Garrett Whitlock out too, I think Cutter Crawford earned himself another start. I really do. I think you got to keep him up. I mean, if he did that well today against a Mariners team that has been playing well, I absolutely think Cutter Crawford should get another start. Why not? But as for Robbie Ray, like I said, we had a pitcher's duel today. He did really good too. He went 7 innings, only gave up 3 hits. He struck out 4. It was a scoreless game all the way until the 8th inning. And then the Red Sox started coming alive. Rob Refsnyder hit by pitch, got on base, and then Rafael Devers, he got a pitch that was just up and away, and he just stuck the bat out there, and he just killed it for an opposite field shot. 2-run home run, made it 2-0. Rafael Devers, man, Chaim Bloom, if you are for some reason listening to this show, if you're listening, you need to listen to me right now. Get this guy signed. Enough is enough. Get that contract written up. Go talk with John Henry. Go talk with Tom Werner. We got to get this guy locked up, man, because he is an absolute machine. I don't know what else does he need to prove. Also, did everyone see the ice cream cone at the end of the game today, after the game? I mean, my goodness. Rafi Devers, I think, has now started something for the Red Sox. Honestly, can the Red Sox just have post-game ice cream cones all the time? Because it is an absolute vibe. If you're with me live here on YouTube, he was having an ice cream cone after the game, and my goodness. I mean, look how adorable he is having his ice cream cone. Are you kidding me? But we got to get this guy signed. I don't know what else he needs to prove. If we go take a look here, I actually tweeted out a little earlier. I wrote, give Rafael Devers a contract, 7 years, 196 to 210 million, somewhere in that range. That's 28 to 30 million annually. If you go to Fangraphs, I've talked about this before on this show. If you go to a player's page on Fangraphs, you can look at their value. As of right now, we are through right around 60 games, and Rafael Devers is worth already 27 million. And we're a little more than a third of the way through. Are you kidding me? This guy is on pace to just have a stupid good season. He's 25 years old. He's what, 26 in about 5 months? I mean, come on. Give this guy a 7-year deal. If we go take a look here, I came up with those numbers because I've just looked at the other contracts for third baseman. Manny Machado is the top paid third baseman right now, at least for the whole contract. The highest AAV actually goes to Anthony Rendon, $35 million per year, and Nolan Arenado, his contract overall comes in at $260 million. But to me, I think Rafi Devers, man, I think he should kind of go between Anthony Rendon and Jose Ramirez. Jose Ramirez just recently signed a pretty team-friendly contract, $141 million over 7 years. Anthony Rendon had 7 years, $245 million. So I think somewhere in between there, I think is a pretty good fit. You got to remember with Anthony Rendon, he was a free agent. He's on the open market. So those guys, they're going to tend to get more money because they're on the open market, right? Because teams are bidding for these guys. Jose Ramirez, he signed a pretty friendly contract because, hey, when you sign an extension, usually it's a team-friendly deal. I think Rafi Devers, man, somewhere in between there, around $200 million, 7 years. That would have him signed until he's 32 years old. He can go be a free agent at that point. I think it's good for both sides. I think that's what he's worth. At the minimum, I think he should be getting $24-25 million. But you got to get him signed, man. I don't see what else he has to prove. He's just a machine. He's just on another level. This is a guy, like, I can understand Xander Bogaerts if you let him go because he's getting into his 30s now. But Rafael Devers is 25 years old. I don't know, man. I think you got to get something locked up with him. We'll have to wait and see. But I absolutely think this guy needs to get paid, especially because he's having some post-game ice cream cones. I mean, come on, that in itself, it's absolutely, come on, it's adorable. Rafael Devers, man, he's got big smiles all the time. He's eating ice cream cones. I mean, come on. What else? I mean, you just got to love the guy, right? But actually, that's not even where I'm going to stop talking about this game. I need to give a little bit of credit here to Rob Refsnyder. Ty France hit one out there to right field, and I thought that was dropping down for a double. Oh my goodness. Rob Refsnyder made one of the catches of the year. This guy fully laid out, and he just caught it full extension. Holy crap. What a catch from Refsnyder, man. That looked like a for sure gapper. And he just laid out full extension and got it. That's one of the catches of the year, in my opinion. And then I've been high on Tanner Houck here in this show. He came in, got the save. 2 saves in this series. First 2 career saves. Tanner Houck needs to be the closer moving forward. If Chris Sale does come back and he goes to a bullpen role, I think Chris Sale, put him as a setup guy. If you're going to work him up in the bullpen, have him be, a multi-inning guy / setup guy, if that's what you want to do. Eventually he'll go back into the rotation. But I think Tanner Houck, this reminds me, and this is what Garrett Whitlock was like last year when he just took that role at the end of the game. He just took it, just like Papelbon did back in 2006. I think Houck is that guy. I think Houck is the guy. If you're going to keep Whitlock in the rotation, Whitlock has shown more promise in the rotation than Houck was showing. That's the difference between those two, is Whitlock has shown that ability to work deeper into games. Tanner Houck was having... Whitlock has had his issues working through those innings as well, but Houck was having a bit of a tougher time, and I think Houck is the guy to be pitching at the end of games. That's just my personal opinion. But good series here against the Mariners. As of right now, the Red Sox, they sit at 32-29. To me, I think this division is pretty much done. The Yankees scored like 8,000 runs today against the Chicago Cubs. What the heck is going on? Even Kyle Higashioka going deep today on what was it, like a 40-mile-an-hour, just whatever it was. But the Red Sox, 32-29. They're 12.5 back in the division, but they still do have the third wild card spot. The Blue Jays hanging on to the first one, the Rays hanging on to the second one, and the Red Sox hanging on to the third one. As of right now, Cleveland a half game back of the... Cleveland is also playing well. And the Angels 3 games back. Even the Rangers are 3 games back. Man, oh man. Also, did you hear the story about the Angels today with Joe Madden? Joe Madden supposedly showed up with a mohawk for that game that day, and then he got fired. Joe Madden was about... Angels, could you have waited one more day? One more day. Could you have... You couldn't wait one more day. If I saw Joe Madden with a mohawk, I would have just... That would have been the best thing I'd ever seen. My goodness. The Angels, you messed up on that one. Just why couldn't you give us Joe Madden with a mohawk? Are you kidding me? But I digress. Let's move on here to the next series. So the Red Sox still going to be playing some West Coast action, going up against the A's in the next series. We have a much-needed day off on Monday. After 10 straight games, they're going to need a day off. These guys are tired. They are definitely going to appreciate it. But game 1, it's going to be Nick Pivetta against Jared Koenig. Game 2, Rich Hill versus James Kaprielian. And game 3, there's actually not a projected starter right now, according to Fangraphs. But I would imagine it's either going to be Waka. Waka is listed as the probable guy right now for game 1 against the Cardinals, which, I mean, hey, that's a great story. Waka against the Cardinals at Fenway Park. That's got 2013 written all over it. But Waka right now on Fangraphs is listed as the probable guy for game 1 against the Cardinals on the weekend. That's going to be a really fun series. We're not going to talk about that in this episode, but that's going to be really fun. The Cardinals got a good team this year. You always got to love it when the Red Sox and Cardinals play. It's just always got that feel to it. You know, you had the 2004 World Series, the 2013 World Series. You know, you got all those World Series from back in the day with I always love when those two teams play, man. I just always love it. It's got that historic feel to it. But as for game 3, there's not a listed guy right now. So could that be a Cutter Crawford start? Could that be Winkowski maybe being called up from AAA? He looked pretty good in his last start for the Woo Sox. So I would imagine for game 3, you're going to want to spot Winkowski. So unless they maybe move some guys around, maybe you end up having Rich Hill, maybe you push him there. You could have Crawford for game 2. I would think Crawford for game 2. I think Crawford lines up for game 3. So yeah, I think it's going to be Cutter Crawford for game 3 there. So, but what am I looking out for in this series? I'm looking out for Bobby Dahlbeck. This guy's awesome. He would have been the hero on Saturday night had it not been for Hanzo Robles. Kill me. But Dahlback, in his last 15 games, he's hitting .305, has a .353 on base, a .609 slugging, 4 homers, 10 RBIs. I want to see Bobby Dahlback keep it going, man. Let's keep it going. He's been great. Trevor Story has been the opposite. He's actually been pretty cold. He's 4 for his last 24. Really, Story, his glove has been great out there. It has been just such a great fit defensively. He has really taken to second base. But I'm hoping we're not going to see a hot and cold bat from Trevor Story. I'm never a fan of those streaky bats. I love when they're hot, but, when they're cold, it's just like, ugh. But Trevor Story looking to see if he can pick up the pace. And again, looking to see who gets that start for game 3, or who ends up getting the start, or how do they fill this with Nathan Eovaldi and Garrett Whitlock out. So let's get to some prospect news. We had some action over this weekend. Let's talk a little Brayan Bello, the top Red Sox pitching prospect. Had a great start against Buffalo. He went 6 innings, 8 strikeouts. He continues to look good. Are we going to see Brayan Bello maybe be a September call-up for the Red Sox? I'm thinking right now he's pushing for it. I think you could definitely see Bello in some kind of a role, unless they have an innings limit for him. Could you see maybe Brayan Bello get the spot start in game 3? Maybe. I think maybe you could. I'm not sure what their plan for him is. Maybe they just want him to just working AAA right now, but he could be a possibility for that game against the A's. We'll have to wait and see. One guy that we have not really talked about all that much, and this might be the first time you're hearing about him, and that's Nicholas Northcutt. High A, Greenville. This guy hit his 20th home run over the weekend. And believe it or not, if you go to Fangraphs, if you go pull up under the prospects tab, if you go to the board, you can actually see the minor league leaderboards. And Nicholas Northcutt of High A Greenville is actually tied for the lead in home runs in all of minor league baseball. The problem with Nicholas Northcutt, though, is while he is hitting bombs and driving in runs, he's only hitting .229. He's got a .278 on base. So we're not seeing a lot of on-base action and batting average from him. However, his slugging percentage, it's a .573. So while I do appreciate the home runs and the RBIs, I need to see more of a batting average. I need to see more of an on-base. And who knows, man? Maybe this guy can end up being a guy in the next few years. And, hey, with the Red Sox, they've always been very good at developing these position players. So could Nicholas Northcutt be a guy that we see in a couple of years? He's mashing up there, so that's good to see. Speaking of a guy that mashes, how about Blaze Jordan? Having a decent year with Single A. We're not seeing a lot of power from him. Only 3 home runs, only a .408 slugging compared to the .590 slugging last year. But Blaze Jordan has been heating up lately. In the month of June, he's hitting .300 with a .405 on base. He went 3 for 4 on Saturday night. So honestly, I like that Blaze Jordan, he's not just this guy that's hitting home runs. Honestly, like the numbers that we just looked at with Nicholas Northcutt, that's kind of what I think a lot of people saw Blaze Jordan doing. A guy just hitting for a ton of power. But I like that Jordan is really just focusing on getting bat to ball. He's getting on base. The power's there. It's gonna come. The game power will develop. So I like that Jordan right now, he's not focusing on just trying to hit bombs. And I think that the Red Sox are taking the right approach. He's only 19 years old. So hey, I think Blaze Jordan, man, give him a few years. I think he's going to be something. So he's playing great baseball lately, though. So everyone, we have reached the end here. But before we do get out of here, I'm actually going to do a bit of Q&A. We did have some questions. If you go on my channel on YouTube, if you go to the community tab, you will be able to I will post something for you to post a question or a comment. So we got 7 here. Let me run through these. Hans, you actually had a question here as well. What are your thoughts on who we should target at the deadline? I got to say, man, right now with these injuries happening, I'm almost kind of leaning towards some starting pitching. I think we need to go get a bullpen guy. If Tanner Houck ends up being the guy at the back end of the bullpen, I think you might be okay. I wouldn't mind a bullpen guy and a starting pitcher. If you could get someone, I don't think Bloom is going to do this, but if you could get someone like Luis Castillo or even Frankie Montas, oh, that would be huge. That would be huge. I don't know if Bloom is going to go that route because Bloom, the way he likes to do trades is he wants to get something for the future as well as get something for the present. So for either Frankie Montas or Luis Castillo, he's going to have to give up prospects. And they're still trying to rebuild that farm. So that might not be the route I think he ends up going. We know Bloom. He's going to try and find some diamonds in the rough. Remember, he got Austin Davis last year. And look how good Austin Davis has been this year. So Chaim Bloom, I think he's going to make moves like that. I think he could get a starting pitcher, but someone that's going to be cheaper, I think. So we'll have to wait and see on that. The Cubs, they got some relievers there. I could see him maybe going to the Cubs. And like maybe someone like a Scott Efros could be good for that bullpen. I could see something like that. From Nashiris Midad. In 2018, Alex Cora was made famous for his hit-and-run schemes, which partially led to that team's success. Has Cora been implementing the hit-and-run this year? Well, if we take a look at the numbers right now, I feel like he's been doing a little bit here and there. The Red Sox right now, when it comes to base running, they are actually 13th overall in Major League Baseball. They have a 1.0 base running. It's not a lot. Right now, the Rangers have the highest base running with a 12.3. But now that doesn't necessarily mean they're doing a lot of hit and run. That also accounts for stolen bases and whatnot too, and runs scored. But I feel like he's been doing a little bit. He hasn't been doing it like crazy, but there have been some spots where he has been doing some hit and runs. From Jason, who do you see in the Red Sox starting rotation 2 months from now, and who may move to the pen? I feel like adding arms at the deadline will be a tricky balance with guys like Sale, Paxton, also Josh Taylor. Don't forget about Josh Taylor. He could be back soon as well. All potentially coming back, and a few AAA guys who may be able to opt out. I would say right now with the Red Sox, I mean, if we look at the rotation as is right now, taking a look here. Well, we just had Cutter Crawford get the spot start today. But right now, the rotation on Fangraphs is listed as Pivetta, Hill, Walker, and Crawford. So eventually, you're going to get Eovaldi back. You're going to get Whitlock back. So I honestly I don't think Bloom is going to go crazy with this rotation. I think he could add a depth kind of a guy that can give you some innings. And I think you're going to see a rotation pretty similar. And then obviously Chris Sale will come back. And then I think with James Paxton, I think you have to kind of take a wait and see approach with James Paxton, you know, because you don't really know what he's going to give you. He's throwing right now. It looks like he's getting closer to a rehab assignment. But I think right now the Red Sox, if everyone comes back healthy, they're going to have a lot of depth. So you could have a rotation with Eovaldi, Pivetta, Sale, Paxton, Walker. I mean, you're going to have a lot of guys. So I do think someone is going to have to move to the bullpen. Could you roll with a 6-man rotation? Possibly. Could you have Chris Sale just end up working out of the bullpen in a multi-inning role? I don't think they're going to go that route because they're paying him a lot of money. They want to try and get as many innings out of him as they can. But you also have to, consider his health as well. Could Rich Hill maybe move to the bullpen? Could he possibly be a guy there? I think Walker has done that role before where he's come in and open games. He could be a multi-inning guy, but Walker's been really good in the rotation this year. And I think he ends up staying there. But ultimately, I think it's going to work itself out. That's why I do wonder if they're going to add a starter. I think it might be more it might do them more to add a reliever, I think. But I could see them maybe adding a depth kind of a guy as well. Moving on to Will Millard. How do you feel about Houck as a starter versus Whitlock? Houck has to be the closer. Has to be the closer. Funny enough, on Fangraphs, they are already listing Tanner Houck as the closer. So they agree with me as well. But yeah, Whitlock, to me, I think he just needs to, keep working at it. I think he's going to end up being fine. And then Houck, that guy's the closer. That should not change. Ballin' with AC. What is going on, my friend? Grade this package. Dodgers get Bogarts and Eovaldi. Red Sox get May, Lux, Pages, Gratterall, and a couple of midline to lower level prospects. Looks okay on paper. I would not mind Dustin May. I wonder if the Dodgers want to part with him. I think for this year, with the way the Red Sox are playing as of late, I feel like they're going to end up hanging on to these guys unless they really start slumping. But lately, the way they've been playing, I don't know if they're going to go into any kind of a slump. But you never know. It's baseball. If the Red Sox start looking pretty bad, I could see Eovaldi go to the Dodgers. I don't know about Bogarts because they seem to be pretty. I mean, you could have Bogarts at second, or you could move Turner to second. I just don't see Bogarts going to the Dodgers, honestly. I could see Eovaldi going there, again, if the Red Sox really start to flounder. But, hey, would I hate Dustin May for the Red Sox? Absolutely not. Gratterall for the bullpen? I think that could be pretty good. Could you see Bloom? Let's say the Red Sox are in contention, right? Let's say they got a wild card spot. Could you see Bloom make a move where you're trading away guys that are helping the team now, but trade them away for a package of guys that will still help you compete? I could see Bloom do something like that. Bloom is very creative with his trades. The Jackie Bradley Jr. trade was a perfect example where you shipped off Hunter Renfroe, and then you got a bad contract with Jackie Bradley Jr., and then you got a couple of prospects as well. I could see something like that. I absolutely could. I'm not going to turn my head at all to what Chaim Bloom does. I could see a move like that. Maybe not this one exactly, Bogarts and Eovaldi for May, Lux, Pages, and Gratterall, and a couple of prospects, but I could see a similar move, like Bloom doing something similar like that, where he gets very creative. BP 125, will we see Duran up for the next series? I don't think we could. We could, but then again, how many times, you're going to keep calling this guy up and down, up and down, up and down? I mean, Ref Snyder, man, he did pretty good this past weekend. I'd be okay with keeping Ref Snyder for right now. Caden Lichford, who do you think is the best player for the Red Sox? Right now, it's Devers. It's Devers right now. If you actually go here to the Fangraph leaderboards for the Red Sox here, let's take a look. The stats have not updated, but right now it is Rafael Devers. Rafael Devers, the one thing that would kind of hold him back was his defense, but he's actually been playing okay defense this year. He's got a 1.9 defense on Fangraphs. His offense is just off the charts. He is statistically the best player on the Red Sox right now. Bogarts is right behind him. JD Martinez. JD Martinez is actually the second best offensive player for the Red Sox right now. But Devers is far and away the best player for the Red Sox, and they need to sign him as soon as possible. Nicholas Carrasio, one of our moderators here in the chat. When do you think Blaze Jordan will make his debut? Oh, it's funny. We just talked about Blaze Jordan. Like I said, I think, maybe 3 to 4 years. I think they're going to take their time with him. You got to remember, he's 19 years old. Unless he starts just blowing the cover off the ball and you can't put this guy away. If he forces his way up at an earlier age, then I'm all for it. But I think right now, if they stay on the trajectory for him, I would say probably 3 to 4 years. I think that could be a good time frame for him. So, but yeah, Blaze Jordan, man, he could end up being really good. So, everyone, that's it for tonight's show. I do appreciate everyone coming out. I appreciate the super chats. And everyone, I really do appreciate it. Good questions here. You guys were talking in the chat tonight. Really do appreciate it. For those of you that were coming in to the chat, you were asking about the power rankings. I did say last Monday that I was going to be doing power rankings. I was probably going to move it back to Sunday night, but the numbers actually did pretty good for the power rankings on Monday night, and better than I thought they would be. So I'm going to roll with the power rankings on Monday nights for at least right now. Keep the BLEAV in Red Sox podcast on Sunday nights, and because right now it just works better with the schedule. And again, the power rankings, they did well Monday. So I will be live tomorrow night with power rankings. So be here for that. Before I do get out of here, one more time, our sponsor for today's show is BetOnline. Hey, if you're looking to throw down some money, go check out BetOnline. They got a whole ton of wagers that you can make. Don't forget, we are partnered with SeatGeek. Use my code Hyde. You get $20 off your first purchase. And we're partners with Prize Picks. Use my code Ginger for a 100% deposit match. If you are here with me live on YouTube, if you can, hit that like button on the way out. If you are new, think about subscribing to the channel. I'm talking all things baseball all the time. But if you are listening to this on your favorite podcast network, whether that's Spotify, Google, Apple, or Stitcher, I want to thank you for listening to today's show. I will be live again here on YouTube after the Oakland A series on Thursday. So be on the lookout for that. So Thursday night, Friday morning, this podcast will be live wherever you like to listen to your podcasts. But everyone, go have yourself a great night and have yourself a great week this coming week. And if you are listening to this in the morning, have yourself a good day. Enjoy your cup of coffee or whatever it is you're doing. Everyone, thank you for coming out tonight, and I'll talk to you next time.